Hey, what's up, guys? Guys, time. The Brise is back. The Brise is here. I hope you guys are having a good Tuesday so far. Dude, we got to talk about these wild card games. Let me tell you something. They were god-awful. A lot of these games, most of these games, except for one, we'll get to that in a little bit, but the wild card round of the NFL playoffs was god-awful, atrocious. I mean, it was blowouts for the most part. A lot of these games, right? Except for the Commanders and Buccaneers game. We'll get to that in a little bit. That was the most exciting one of all the wild card games this past weekend. The Washington Commanders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Sunday Night Football, that was a great game. It came down to the last second. It was awesome. But all these other games were absolute garbage, trash. So let's talk about the first one, shall we? Chargers and Texans. As you guys know from last week, I picked the Chargers because I figured they had the number one defense coming into this game. The Texans, very inconsistent throughout the year. Yeah, they won the AFC South, so obviously they get an automatic playoff spot. They're playing at home, so that helps out a little bit. But it's just like maybe that defense of the Chargers will come and destroy the offense of the Texans. That did not happen. They got absolutely annihilated. The Chargers did. So the Texans end up winning this one 32-12. I mean, god-awful. I mean, what a horrible way to start off the wild card weekend. I mean, it was unbelievable. Justin Herbert, that poor bastard, 0-2 in the playoffs. Obviously a couple years ago, you guys remember the game against Jacksonville. They were up 28-0. They blew that lead and lost, and a lot of people were just like, man, Justin Herbert can't do it. I mean, dude, he was only in the league for 3 years at this point. Now he's been in the league for 5 years. This is his 5th year being in the league. You're 0-2. All the hype, it's gone, dude. I mean, to separate yourself from being an elite quarterback, you have to win these playoff games. And you didn't. You blew it when it mattered most. He threw a career high 4 interceptions. 4. Like, you can't do that. You can't do it. I don't care if it's your 5th year in the league, you're a rookie, you've been in the league for 20 years. I don't care who it is. I don't care what quarterback it is. Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, I don't care who you are. When you throw 4 interceptions in a playoff game, especially on the road, you do not recover from that. You will not win games throwing 4 interceptions, and that's what Justin Herbert did. He's the quarterback. He is the franchise player. You have to lead by example. You have to lead your team to success. He didn't. So now everyone's like, okay, he's a bust. He's overrated. Yeah, there is some truth to that. I mean, he's still young, but I mean, you're not making it to the playoffs. It's hard. Regular season, it's hard to have a great record and have enough wins to make it to the playoffs. It's hard. So you're not going to get opportunities like this every single year. If you do, great. But, this was really the year for the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh's first year. He takes them to the playoffs after being absolutely horrible last year. They were 4-12 or 4-13, I do believe, last year. The Chargers were. So a complete turnaround this year. Number one defense going into this game, allowing the fewest points in the NFL. Justin Herbert not throwing a lot of interceptions, very accurate with the football, and then all of a sudden the wild card playoffs happen. You're going up against the Texans, who are kind of a subpar team. You blow it. You make the Texans look like absolute studs in this game. So yeah, 4 interceptions. You can't do that. Career high for Justin Herbert, which is crazy. So it just shows how much of an accurate passer he's been up to this point. I mean, 4 interceptions. One of them returned for a touchdown, by the way, a pick 6. You can't do that in the playoffs. So he's 0-2 in the playoffs, 5 years in the league, 4 interceptions, career high. He had 3 all the regular season. 3 interceptions the entire 18-week season, 17-game season. He only had 3 interceptions. Unbelievable. So what happened? He broke down. Offensive line didn't give him enough chances. He was making some very crappy throws. He wasn't really smart with the football. It was bad. It was horrible. And then he never threw more than 2 interceptions in the game up to this point. So, like I said, up to the wild card game against the Texans, he was a very accurate passer. So, never threw more than 2 interceptions in the game going into the wild card round of the playoffs against the Texans. Crazy, dude. Unbelievable. And then he had 272 pass attempts without an interception on the road. 272 pass attempts on the road without an interception. And then he throws 4 in this game against a Texans team, which, I don't know. I mean, they looked really well Now, this past weekend, we'll see what they can do against the Chiefs. You know, the defending back-to-back Super Bowl champs. But, dude, 272 pass attempts without an interception. Yeah, he might have thrown 4 interceptions in this game, but I don't care who you are. That's impressive. That's awesome. But unfortunately, throwing 4 interceptions kind of gets rid of the 272 pass attempts without an interception being thrown on the road, you know, away from home field. So you had that. And then quarterbacks, I looked this up. They're 55, 501 and 2 when they throw 4 or more interceptions in the regular season. So 55 wins, 551 losses, and 2 ties when a quarterback throws 4 or more interceptions in the regular season. That's crazy. And then there's 3 wins and 33 losses in the playoffs when they throw 4 or more interceptions. So obviously, when you throw interceptions, more than 4 or more interceptions in the game, you're not going to win a whole lot of games. The stats speak for themselves. So Justin Herbert throwing 4 interceptions, it was crazy. I didn't expect that. You know, that was unreal that happened. I feel sorry for him. But at the same time, dude, you got to prove yourself. Like, you want to compare yourself to guys like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, you know, in the AFC only. You know, obviously in the NFC, you got elite quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts. You got Jared Goff. And then, you know, Sam Darnold, apparently, right? Maybe Baker Mayfield. Throw him in the mix. Jaden Daniels. He's had a great rookie season. You know, if you want to separate yourself from the pack, you have to win these games, man. You cannot throw 4 interceptions and expect to have success. And the records speak for themselves. 3 wins, 33 losses for all-time quarterbacks in the playoffs when they throw 4 or more interceptions. And then 55 wins, 551 losses, Jesus, and 2 ties when quarterbacks throw 4 or more interceptions in a game, all-time. So you had that going on. So the rushing attack, the rushing game for this game, the Texans looked absolutely phenomenal. Joe Mixon was great. So rushing-wise, 168-50. So when you run the ball a lot, you control the clock, you control the pace, you know, you tire out that defense, and that's exactly what the Texans did against the Chargers. Number 1 defense coming into this game. They absolutely dominated, the Texans did, in the rushing game. So you had that. Joe Mixon was phenomenal. And then Ladd McConkey, you know, rookie wide receiver. He set the Chargers' regular season record for receptions, reception yards, and I do believe touchdowns as well, the Triple Crown. For a rookie wide receiver for the Chargers franchise. So Ladd McConkey, in this game, he was really good. 9 receptions, 197 yards and a touchdown. He looked great. But, you know, those 4 interceptions, that's what everyone's going to be talking about. That's what we're going to be talking about. I've said it numerous times already because it's crazy. You can't do that. I don't care who you are. You're not going to win a lot of games when you throw that many interceptions in the playoff game. You can't do it. And then C.J. Stroud, 22 for 33, 282 yards, a touchdown and interception. Not bad. Joe Mixon, 25 carries, 106 yards, a touchdown. Nico Collins, their best receiver, even though he missed 5 games this year, he was still their leading receiver. 7 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, this guy missed 5 games in the regular season, and he still led the teams in receptions, reception yards, and touchdowns. That's crazy. And crazy enough, too, C.J. Stroud, Ohio State Buckeye, Nico Collins, Michigan Wolverine. Look at that. Bitter rivals working together. Crazy, right? And, yeah, it was just a total domination by the Texans. And let me tell you something. That defense of the Texans, they got to Justin Herbert. 4 sacks. I mean, they create a lot of pressure for Justin Herbert. So, congrats to the Texans. An unbelievable performance by those guys. They got to move on and play the Chiefs on the road. That's going to be really tough because we know how the Chiefs are. Back-to-back Super Bowl champs. But the Chargers, man, I mean, damn it. What do you do with Justin Herbert? I mean, it's sad because he is a great athlete. But when he's 0-2 career in the playoffs, 5th year in the league, he throws 4 interceptions on the road. You have the number 1 defense behind you, supporting you. I mean, damn, dude. It's really crappy. It's a really crappy situation. So, you know, I don't know what the Chargers are going to do. I mean, do they try to keep Joey Bosa? I mean, what's Khalil Mack's future? You know, you got some stars on that team. I don't know. You know, J.K. Dobbins. Where's Ladd McConkey? Does he, you know, get better? You know, it was his rookie season this year. Does he get better as a result? I don't know, very crappy situation for the Chargers. But the Texans, man, they looked absolutely phenomenal. They win this one, 32-12. They look great. God bless them in the division around the playoffs this weekend against the Chiefs. So you had that game. That was the 4:30 game. Thought it was going to be a great game. It was god-awful. You had that. So then the next game, the night game, Ravens and Steelers. Iconic rivalry, right? I mean, I grew up watching this rivalry for many years. You had Ray Lewis. You had Ben Roethlisberger. You know, you had Jerome Bettis last couple years there in Pittsburgh. You know, you had Jacoby Jones. Rest in peace. You had Troy Polamalu. You had Somay. You know, Derek Mason. He was a great wide receiver for the Ravens for a little bit. You know, you had all these great players being a part of this rivalry. You know, Joe Flacco, right? I mean, he did win a Super Bowl, so you can't knock on him. But you had all these great players in this rivalry throughout the years. You know, like I said, I grew up watching this rivalry. It was always tough. It was always rough. These guys beat the crap out of each other. It was a physical game. It was always going to be a physical game. But this game, yeah, the Ravens won 28-14, but this easily could have been like a 48-14-10 game. So the score doesn't even display how bad the Ravens destroyed the Steelers. And the Steelers, unbelievable. What a horrible way to end the season. So we'll get into that. So Ravens win this one, 28-14 at home. Rushing yards again, 299 rushing yards for the Ravens versus the Steelers 29. 299 yards, almost 300 yards rushing for the Ravens versus the Steelers 29 rushing yards. They don't have a running game. Najee Harris, what is he doing? That offensive line of the Steelers, not the greatest in the world. So obviously they can't run when you don't have a great offensive line. But yeah, 299 yards rushing versus 29 yards. Ravens versus the Steelers. Unbelievable. And really, in that series, whoever runs the ball more and controls the clock is going to win the game. Case in point, Ravens win. So you had that. So it was the most rushing yards allowed in a playoff game by the Steelers. So Steelers, growing up, great defense, known for their defense. Many Hall of Famers on their defense from years past. You know, physicality. You know, we're going to stop you. We're going to beat you to the ground. Not in this game. You guys got absolutely annihilated. You got trampled. You got run over by Mr. Derrick Henry, a beast. One of the best running backs I've ever seen play the game. But the most rushing yards allowed by a Steelers team in the playoffs. 299 rushing yards. Crazy. And then the Ravens set a team record of rushing yards in the postseason with 299 rushing yards. So a lot of history being made in this game, right? You had that. So the first half, here's the numbers for total yards for both teams. So the Ravens had 308 total yards after the first half of football. 308 yards when the second quarter was all said and done. The Steelers only had 59 total yards after the first half. 59. 308 to 59. So you kind of knew, if you're an intelligent football fan, that the Ravens were going to dominate this game. Like the Steelers, you might as well just pack your bags and get the hell out of the stadium. You're done. You're done. First downs. 19 first downs for the Ravens in the first half versus the Steelers 2. 19-2 in first downs in the first half for the Ravens. Unbelievable. Crazy. Total dominance by the Ravens. Russell Wilson, 20 for 29, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not bad. But he got sacked 4 times. Like, the offensive line has to do their part. He can only do so much. Russell Wilson, he's not getting any younger. He's in his late 30s. Offensive line did not do their job in this game. You can't let your quarterback get sacked 4 times and expect success, especially in the playoffs. It's a whole different ball game versus the regular season. And you're going up against your division rival. And you're playing on the road. You have to win that game. Lamar Jackson, possible MVP candidate. I mean, him and Josh Allen, neck and neck. You know, who's going to win it? Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? We'll find out. But Lamar Jackson, 16 for 21, 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's making his case for NFL MVP. And then Derrick Henry, 26 carries, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns. Guy, you couldn't stop this guy. He ran over Minka Fitzpatrick, his former teammate from Alabama. That's what this rivalry is all about, man. They don't care. It's physicality on both sides. But this game, the Ravens showed up. The Steelers. Where the hell were you guys? I mean, dude, I watched that game. It seemed like there was no fight at all. There was no aggression, no passion coming from the Steelers. And that's crazy because they're one of the most iconic franchises in all sports, not just the NFL, but in all sports. A lot of their fans, they travel. But how they performed this past weekend against the Ravens in the wild card round, pathetic. So you had that. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, awesome. Absolute studs in this game. And then the Steelers. So they end the season with 5 straight losses. So at one point in the season, they were 10-3. Looking comfortable, looking great. Like they're signing up for success for the playoffs. But they lose 5 straight games to end their season. They went from 10-3 to now 10-8 to end the season. That's god-awful. That's unreal. That's disgusting. And that's not Pittsburgh Steelers football. That's not. 10-3 and you lose 5 straight to end the season. You end the season 10-8. That's not Pittsburgh Steelers football. I don't care who you are. And then as a result of this loss in the wild card round, they've lost 6 straight playoff games. 6 straight. That's not that, when we think about the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're competing for the AFC Championship or they're in the Super Bowl. At least when I was growing up, they were always almost there. But to lose in the wild card round and now you've lost 6 straight playoff games? Dude, what the hell is going on in Pittsburgh? Their last win in the playoffs was in 2017 against the Chiefs, before the Mahomes era. And they won that game 18-16. So their last playoff game was in 2017, 8 years ago. I was 20 years old. I'm 28 right now. 20 years old last time the Pittsburgh Steelers won a playoff game. Crazy. And then Mike Tomlin, this is his 18th year as a head coach. He's never had a losing season. Never had a losing season. But now you've lost 6 straight playoff games. They said they're not going to get rid of him. But I don't know. A lot of fans in Pittsburgh, they're mad. They're upset. They're fuming right now. Because this is not Pittsburgh Steelers football. You don't lose 6 straight playoff games. You don't lose in a wild card round against your bitter rivals, the Ravens. You don't do that. You don't have a 10-3 record and then end your season with 5 straight losses when you have all that talent on the field. Russell Wilson, George Pickens, Najee Harris, Cameron Hayward still doing it at his age. TJ Watt, one of the best defensive ends of all time. Minka Fitzpatrick. You have all this talent on this team. And this is how you end your season. Unbelievable. So you had that game. So those 2 wildcard games, god-awful. So now we got to go to Sunday. Triple threat. 3 games on Sunday. You would think one of them would be good, right? There was. We'll get to that in a little bit, but we got to talk about the first game, the 1 o'clock games. CBS, Jim Nantz, his 500th career football game he's called. 500 football games he's called in his career. So congrats to Jim Nantz. He's a great commentator. I like listening to him. Him and Tony Romo. People knock on Tony Romo a lot. I think he's okay. He's very intelligent. You can give him that, right? But him and Jim Nantz, I think they're a good pairing. So Jim Nantz, congratulations on your 500th broadcast. Broadcasting football games, football broadcasts. Good for you. You deserve it. You're a legend. So you had that going on. But you had the Bills and the Broncos, right? So the Broncos coming into this game, top 3 defense, looking good. Bo Nix, not bad. His first playoff game. So Bills and Broncos. So Bills win this one 31-7. Another blowout. Horrible game. Boring as hell. But Josh Allen making his case for the NFL MVP. 20 for 26. 272 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran the ball for 8 carries and 46 yards. So if he doesn't beat you with his arm, he's going to beat you with his legs. He's the ultimate quarterback. He's the ultimate dual threat quarterback. He's the ultimate athlete. So you can make the case that he's going to be NFL MVP. And he proved it this past Sunday. So you have that. James Cook, 23 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. He looked absolutely phenomenal in this game as well. So James Cook looked great. The running game was amazing. Very balanced offense. A lot of passing, a lot of rushing. I like what the Buffalo Bills did on offense. Great game plan by the Buffalo's offense there. Rushing, it seems like a lot of running plays, a lot of rushing games happened this past weekend. So rushing yards, the Bills had 210 yards versus the Broncos 79. You see where the pattern is here? You run the ball in the playoffs, over 200 yards, a couple touchdowns, you control the clock, you dictate the pace of the game, you exhaust and tire out that defense. Look what happens. You win the game. Whoa, crazy, right? So 210 rushing yards for the Bills, 79 for the Broncos. Absolute dominance by the Bills in this game. And then time of possession. Listen to this stat. I checked this out the other day. The time of possession for this game. Listen to this. The Bills had the ball for 41 minutes and 43 seconds. 41 minutes and 43 seconds. The Broncos' time of possession, 18 minutes and 17 seconds. Like not even 20 minutes of having the ball. That was another reason why the Bills won this game. They had the ball most of the game. That defense was tired. They had no clue what to do. They were exhausted. How are they going to make plays when they can't even see straight? When they're huffing and puffing? Well, the running game. You have Josh Allen to deal with. What are you going to do if you're the Broncos? Crazy. And then the Broncos, they're 2 for 9 on third down. If you can't convert on third down in playoffs, it's going to be a long day for you guys. 2 for 9 on third down, 1 for 3 on fourth down. And then Bo Nix. He was the first rookie to start a postseason game in franchise history. So all these great quarterbacks from Denver. You have John Elway. Jake Plummer was good. Tim Tebow. Let's throw Tim Tebow in there, right? Peyton Manning. Obviously he came later in his career, so he wouldn't qualify as a rookie. But Bo Nix, first rookie in Broncos history, in franchise history, to start a postseason game. So good for him. And you know what? He wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad. That his defense failed him. He was 13 for 22, 144 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, could there have been more plays? I mean, you only score 7 points. The offense, your job is to score points. One of your main jobs, rather, is to score points. You score 7 after four quarters. I mean, I guess we can blame him a little bit, but he's a damn rookie. Let's cut him some slack a little bit, all right? First postseason start in Broncos history. The only rookie to have a postseason start in Broncos/franchise history. So it kind of comes some slack. But 7 points, you got to score more. But he'll learn. Like I said, he wasn't that bad. Defense didn't help him out. And yes, he needed, the offense needed to score more points. Troy Franklin, wide receiver for the Broncos, only touchdown scored for the Broncos in that game. So then it was the first trip to the playoffs for the Broncos, for the Denver Broncos, since 2015. And we all remember that year. That was Peyton Manning's last year playing football, and he was absolutely phenomenal. They went on to win Super Bowl 50 against the Panthers that year. So since 2015, this was their first playoff game, the Denver Broncos, their first playoff game since 2015. Dude, I was a senior in high school when this was going down, right? Crazy. Or no, I just graduated high school, excuse me. I just graduated high school when the last time the Broncos went to the playoffs. So, long time, but they didn't show up. 31-7 Bills. They look absolutely phenomenal. Josh Allen, look out for that guy, man. I tell it's crazy. That's gonna be a crazy game. Bills and the Ravens in the divisional round this weekend. Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. 2 NFL MVP candidates. That's going to be an exciting one. Watch that one for sure. So you have that. And now we got to talk about the Ravens and the Eagles. So the Ravens, or not the Ravens and the Eagles, excuse me, the Packers and the Eagles. Packers and Eagles. Eagles win this one 22-10. Another boring game. I mean, the Packers just shot themselves in the foot. Jordan Love didn't do himself any favors. He looked god-awful. It was the 4th time these teams met in the playoffs, all time. And Philly has a 3-1 record against the Packers. So you have that going on. Jalen Hurts, 13 for 21, 131 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, right? He just got back from concussion protocol, so maybe that's why they didn't do a lot of the tush pushes that you see when they're inside the red zone, when they're like at the inch yard line. trying to protect his head, have a clear mind going into the next round of the playoffs. So I understood that. But he looked great. He looked good. Saquon Barkley, 25 carries, 119 yards. No touchdowns, but he still ran that ball down Packers' throats, down Green Bay's throats. So you had that. Dallas Goedert, 4 receptions, 47 yards, and he had that touchdown where he stiff-armed the same guy 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Get out of my way. I'm scoring this touchdown, my friend. And that's exactly what he did. Dallas Goedert, great play there. Now we got to go to the Packers side. Green Bay Packers. So Jordan Love, 20 for 33, 212 yards, 3 interceptions. What did I say earlier when we were talking about the Chargers and the Texans game? I don't care who you are. Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I don't care who you are. When you throw that many interceptions in the playoff game, on the road, again, you're playing in Philly, right? Very energetic crowd, very passionate, bunch of savages. I mean, let's be honest, the Philadelphia Eagles fans, they are ruthless there in Philly. When you throw 3 interceptions on the road in a playoff game, you're not going to win. You're not going to have a lot of success. Jordan Love did not look good at all. I mean, he was missing throws. He was throwing the ball in the dirt. He was getting sacked. So, okay, you got to blame the offensive line a little bit. But, dude, Jordan Love, you've been in the league for a few years now. You've been in these situations before. You have to show up, man. And to throw 3 interceptions against a very good defense in Philadelphia and the Eagles, that's not gonna work, man. 3 interceptions for Jordan Love. He looked god-awful. Josh Jacobs looked all right. 18 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. He looked all right. But now the Packers are 0-6 against NFC elite teams, so the teams that are in the playoffs. So they're 0-6 against NFL elite teams. They lost to the Eagles twice. They lost to the Detroit Lions twice. And they lost to the Vikings twice. And then they finished off the season 1-5 against the NFC North. Their only win came on a field goal that was attempted by the Chicago Bears, and it got blocked. That was your only win against the crappy, irrelevant, horrible, god-awful Chicago Bears. That was your only win against the NFC North this year. 1-5 against the rest of the NFC North. You lost. You lost to the Chicago Bears. Excuse me. You lost to the Chicago Bears late in the season. You lost to the Detroit Lions twice. You lost to the Vikings twice. So, not a great way to end the season to the Green Bay Packers. And now, Matt LaFleur. I mean, he has the second most wins as a head coach in 6 seasons. So, 6-year coach, he has the second most wins all time. Great. But what's he doing in the playoffs, man? You know, it's not looking good for him. They need to clean something up there for Green Bay. Another iconic franchise, just like the Pittsburgh Steelers. That fan base travels. They want to see championships. Not going to win championships when your star quarterback's throwing 3 interceptions. And your head coach doesn't know how to manage a game clock. His clock management is horrible. His calls on 4th down are horrible. His situational football is horrible. You're the head coach, man. You got to figure this out. So, Packers lose this one. The Eagles move on. They're going to play the Rams in the divisional round. That's going to be a very interesting one. We'll get to that game, the Rams and the Vikings from last night in a little bit. But yeah, the Eagles win 22-10. They look great on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. Defense looked phenomenal. Offense, Saquon being Saquon, and Jalen Hurts looked great. So the Eagles win that one. And now the final game from Sunday from the triple threat. Sunday Night Football, NBC. Mike Tirico, one of the best in the business, and Chris Collinsworth making the call. Commanders and Buccaneers. So the Commanders win this one, 23-20. The most exciting, the most entertaining wild card game this past weekend. Commanders win this one, 23-20 against the Buccaneers. It was a great game from the get-go. Washington, their first playoff win in nearly 7,000 days. 2005 season, that was the last time they won a playoff game. And who did they beat in that 2005 season in the playoffs? The Buccaneers. So look at that, right? Coming around after almost 20 years not winning a playoff game. They finally win their first playoff game in over 20 years. First playoff win in nearly 7,000 days. That's a long time. So those Washington fans from Washington, D.C., they're loving it. So you have that going on. Jay and Daniels. his first start, his first postseason game. Rookie, possible rookie of the year, right? He's been phenomenal. This game, he was great. 24 for 35, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then he got a critical first down to set up Zane Gonzalez field goal in this one. And then he had 13 rushes for 36 yards. So when the game mattered most, I mean, he ran the ball for a first down to set up the game-winning field goal for Zane Gonzalez for the Washington Commanders. So as a rookie, that's very impressive to even be aware of what's going on in that situation. To not freak out. I mean, dude, it looked like he was having fun. He wasn't nervous. He was smiling. You know, he's talking to the opposing team, to the Tampa Bay's defense. He's cracking jokes. He's having a great time. I mean, who wouldn't be? You're a rookie in the NFL in the postseason. You're trying to win this franchise's first playoff game in 20 years, in nearly 7,000 days. Last time you won a playoff game. You're having fun, and Jay Daniels looked absolutely phenomenal. And then Dyami Brown, wide receiver for the Commanders. He scored the first touchdown in the game. He had a great night. 5 receptions, 89 yards, touchdown. First touchdown in the game. Set the tone for the rest of the game. Terry McLaurin, Jay Daniels' favorite target, it seems like. All regular season and in these playoffs. 7 receptions for 89 yards, a touchdown. He comes from the Ohio State University. They produce a lot of great wide receivers. He's one of them. And he proved it Sunday night. So you had that. Now we got to go on the Buccaneers side. So Baker Mayfield, I tell you what, he lost this game. And yeah, he lost the divisional round last year against the Lions. So in terms of postseason success, he doesn't have a whole lot of it. But I tell you what, this game and this whole season, he was great. He was great. He finished, I do believe, second in touchdown yards, I do believe. I think number 1 obviously was Joe Burrow. But this game he was 15 for 18, 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Irving, Bucky Irving had 17 carries for 77 yards. And then Mike Evans, who just had another 1,000-yard receiving yard season. 11 straight, ties the all-time great Jerry Rice's record. So that was good for him. But in this game, 7 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Dude, Mike Evans he's a great player. But you didn't win the game. Lost on the last-second field goal. Commanders are going home. I saw a lot of Commanders fans there in Tampa Bay. Crazy enough, they travel too, right? But Jay Daniels, Rookie of the Year for sure. Now they move on to play the Detroit Lions. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But that was the best wild card game this weekend, my opinion. All the other games were blowouts, trash, one-sided, god-awful. So Commanders and Bucks, best wild card playoff game this past season. Or this past weekend, rather. So now we got to talk about last night's game. Last night's game, oh man. I only watched the second half. Just to, give you guys a little heads up there. Because first half I was watching Landman. Great show, Paramount Plus, Billy Bob Thornton. If you want to watch it, go ahead. If you have a Paramount Plus subscription, I strongly recommend watching Landman. It's a great show. But anyways, I saw the second half of this game. And it was just like, yeah, I didn't really miss much because Vikings-Rams win this one 27-9, completely dominated the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings, I tell you what, frauds, right? 14 wins, 5th seed. Yeah, that's probably a good reason. That's probably, there's probably a reason behind that because you guys looked god-awful last night against the Rams. So Rams win this one 27-9. Stafford, 19 for 27, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's still doing it at his old age. 5-4 all-time in the playoffs. He's 5-1 with the Rams. So, playoff time, Matthew Stafford with the Rams, great things are going to happen. The Rams, their defense in this game, let me tell you something. They had 9 sacks in this game, which ties a playoff record. 9. Like the Minnesota Vikings offensive line, what the hell were you doing? What the hell were you doing in this game? Did you sleep? Did you take a day off? Did you forget to eat a cheeseburger or something? Like, what's going on? You allowed 9 sacks in this game. 9. That's god-awful. Like, you can't even blame Sam Darnold. I mean, he looked absolutely horrible because he's throwing the ball in the dirt. He's throwing behind his receivers. He's throwing, 20, 30 yards ahead of his receivers. He looked god-awful. But when you're the offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings and you allow 9 sacks in this game, 9, you are not going to win. And as for the quarterback, his confidence goes down because he's like, damn, these guys are not protecting me. They're not doing their jobs. I have to do something. I have to get the ball out quick. And that was another thing, too. Sam Darnold held on to that ball way too long. There was so many situations where he was holding it. Dude, get rid of it. Throw it away. Don't take the sack. Live to fight another down. But he held that ball so many times in this game for far too long. So you got to blame him too. But that offensive line allowing 9 sacks. That is... God, that is horrible, dude. You can't do that. You cannot do that. So the Rams defense played their lights out, man. I mean, they came, they saw, and they conquered. Crazy. And this game was in Arizona, by the way, because the LA wildfires going on. Unfortunate, sad situation going on there. Thoughts and prayers to everyone out there. A lot of people losing their homes. A lot of people losing their lives to these wildfires. I'm just hoping they can get that whole situation taken care of and we can heal together. So you have that going on. Thoughts and prayers to everyone out in Los Angeles. So this game had to be moved, obviously due to air quality and safety reasons, to Arizona. But dude, there was a lot of Vikings fans there. A lot of Vikings fans. Arguably maybe more Vikings fans versus Rams fans. But that didn't help. I mean, 9 sacks this Rams defense had against the Vikings. Tremendous performance by the Rams defense. God-awful performance by the offensive line and Sam Darnold. So you had that. So the Vikings, this is how their first half was in terms of possession, right? So Vikings, first half, punt, field goal, interception by Sam Darnold because he's horrible, fumble touchdown because, he wants to hold on to the ball for 20 seconds. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to hang on to it. And then, bam, I get smashed. Fumble recovery by Jared Verse, who was a draft pick by the Rams this past season. 57. He ran back for 57 yards. And then their last drive of the first half was a fourth down that they didn't complete because, once again, Sam Darnold got sacked because he held on to the ball way too damn long. So punt, field goal, interception, fumble, touchdown, recovered by Jared Verse from the Rams, defensive end, 57 yards, and then downs. Went for it on fourth down and got sacked, Sam Darnold. So, yeah, offensive line was horrible. Sam Darnold was holding on to the ball way too damn long. He was horrible. 25 for 40 for him. 245 yards, touchdown, interception. Justin Jefferson was held to 5 receptions for 58 yards, no touchdowns. He's your best player. He's a top 3 wide receiver. If you allow him chances, if you give him the ball, 5 for 58, that's not good, especially in the playoffs. You can't do that. Aaron Jones, 13 carries for 48 yards. This offense was god-awful. The 9 points show it. 9 after 4 quarters of football. Just like the Broncos scoring only 7 against the Bills. You can't do that. You got to score in the playoffs, man. You got to score. You got to play defense. Yeah, there's so many things you got to do. But it's playoff football. It's not regular season. The regular season's done. This is playoff football. You lose, you don't get another week. You'll get them next time. No, you lose, your season's over. You got to wait a whole calendar year to try to get back to the playoffs. And that's even hard in itself. We talked about it earlier. Making the playoffs every year, that's great. I mean, if you were the Patriots from many years ago, the Chiefs in recent years, sure. But making the playoffs every year, it's not easy as it looks. So, score 9 points for the Vikings. That's not good. You can't do that. And then with this loss, the Vikings are the oldest franchise. They were established in 1961, way before my time, way even before my parents' time. They were both born in 1965. Oldest franchise in NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, the top 4, the big 4, they call it, to never win a championship. To never win a championship. Like the Lions have won championships back in the 50s. I get it. But They're the oldest franchise to never win a championship. And the struggles continue for the Vikings. You know, you're a Vikings fan, you gotta be pissed. I mean, you gotta be fuming right now. Especially that performance last night. That was god-awful. And then the Rams on their side, okay, they committed 10 penalties. Yeah, you can't really do that if you're going to go into Philly and try to win that game. You got to clean that up if you're the Rams. I'm sure they will. That's going to be a very exciting game. But yeah, the Rams, that defense looked great. Matthew Stafford still doing it at almost 37 years old. So you had that game, another blowout game. Like I said, didn't really miss much in the first half. I'm glad I watched the last episode of season 1 of Landman, again on Paramount Plus. Check that one out. But yeah, that was the wild card round. And like I said, in Washington and Tampa Bay was the best game out of the wild card rounds, out of the wild card games we had this past weekend. So now we got to jump over to the division round this weekend coming up. So we got the Eagles and the Rams. Let's see what we got here. What's the schedule? Oh, Eagles and Rams are playing on Sunday. Excuse me. So the first game, this Saturday coming up, Saturday, January 18th, 2025, 4:30 on ESPN, ABC. You got the Texans and the Chiefs. So the Chiefs obviously playing at home. They got the home field advantage. So this game, the Chiefs won their Week 16 matchup against the Texans, 27-19. So you have that to look forward to. Like I said, that's regular season. This is playoffs. Totally different mindset, totally different game. So Texans, you have an opportunity to knock off the juggernauts, the kings of the NFL, back-to-back Super Bowl champs. And then Mahomes in that game from their Week 16 matchup against the Texans, he went for 20 for 41, 260 yards, a touchdown and a rushing touchdown. So he did good in that game, Patrick Mahomes, right? I mean, they're 15-1, a lot of one-score games this season, but it's the playoffs, and they've had a lot of time to rest. So that might play a factor, maybe good, maybe bad. They're playing at home. That might help out a little bit. But the Texans, man, I mean, you got to feel great after dominating that game against the Chargers at home in the wild card round last weekend. And then Xavier Worthy, rookie wide receiver out of Texas, in that game, Week 16 matchup. 7 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown. So maybe this game in the divisional round, maybe get him going, right? Get that running game going, perhaps, as well. And then Mahomes' his career record in the playoffs, 15-3. So he knows how to win in the big moments. So this game, the Texans and the Chiefs, who's going to win this one? 4:30 at Chiefs. At Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City, Missouri. I got the Chiefs win this one. They're undefeated at home. They're the defending Super Bowl champs. I think Mahomes is going to have a big game here. I got the Chiefs over the Texans there. So that's the first game this Saturday, 4:30 on ABC and ESPN. And then the late game, 8 o'clock on Fox. You got the Washington Commanders, led by Jayden Daniels. They're coming to the Motor City to face the Detroit Lions, baby. This is going to be a very good game. Like, everyone, I'm telling you right now, do not overlook the Washington Commanders. Do not. Jayden Daniels, he's a scary dude. He can make plays. Our defense needs to be ready. How we played against the Vikings a few weeks ago to secure the number 1 seed and the first round bye, you know, our defense, especially in the red zone, we have to play exactly like that and then some. I'm telling you. The Commanders are a team that cannot be overlooked. So the Commanders and Lions. So the Lions got the first round bye, obviously beating the Vikings in Week 18. Back-to-back NFC North champs. First time in franchise history. 15-2. Most wins in franchise history. So the Lions, another magical season. They got to handle business Saturday night. And you're playing at home. That's going to help out a lot. That place is going to be loud. But you got to win in the trenches, man. You got score points, which we don't have a problem with, but we have to score. Don't overlook the Commanders' defense. And then you have to stop Jayden Daniels. Someone's got to cover Terry McLaurin because you know he's going to throw it to him, right? De'Ami Brown's going to get some action as well. So we got to shut down those two guys. We got to shut down Jayden Daniels. We got to create pressure. You know, he's a mobile quarterback. Historically, the Lions against the mobile quarterbacks, not the greatest. But this is the division round of playoffs, so get ready. Buckle up and let's play some damn football if you're the Detroit Lions. So the Lions open up as 8.5-point favorites. So if you're betting, that's crazy, right? 8.5-point favorites. The Lions open up against the Commanders for this Saturday night at Ford Field. David Montgomery, I'm getting word that he's going to return this game. They said he was going to be back in the divisional round of the playoffs. This is the divisional round. So we'll see how he does if he's getting that playing time. Because in his absence, he injured his knee in Week 15 against the Bills. In his absence, you had Jahmyr Gibbs. And Jahmyr Gibbs, since Montgomery got hurt in Week 15, here's his numbers. 365 yards rushing, 64 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. Or 64 carries, excuse me. So 365 rushing yards for Jahmyr Gibbs on 64 carries and 5 touchdowns. So he scored in every single game since David Montgomery got hurt. So Jahmyr Gibbs has been a very good asset to the Lions' success and to that offense. So with David Montgomery returning, now you got the two-headed monster. Now you got Sonic and Knuckles. We'll see what the Lions can do. They can win this game, 100%. But I'm just saying, don't overlook Washington. Don't look ahead. We got to focus on the Washington Commanders. We got to focus on Saturday night. So who's winning this one? The Washington Commanders or the Detroit Lions? You guys already know. I'm picking the Detroit Lions. They've done so many great things this season. That Week 18 matchup against the Vikings, arguably their best performance, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. With our banged up defense, you got 11. Like at one point, I think there was like 20 guys on IR. Now I think it's like 11. Most of them on defense, right? But how we played it against the Vikings, Week 18, that red zone defense was lights out. They played a hell of a game. Aaron Glenn called a great game for the defense. He's the defensive coordinator. He was great in that game. He's got to come up with something big. How are we going to stop Jayden Daniels? We can't let him run because mobile quarterbacks kill us. We have to sack his ass. We have to stop him. Our defense has to come up big in this one. Offense, you already know what to do. Go down there and score points. But the Lions, man. The Lions are going to win this one. I got the Detroit Lions win this one. This is going to be a very exciting matchup. Saturday night, 8 o'clock on Fox. Go Lions. Take care of business, baby. Let's go. That's going to be a fun one there. And now Sunday, divisional round. 3 o'clock. NBC and Peacock. You got the Rams and the Eagles. So this one's going to be interesting, right? Eagles won their Week 11 matchup between these two. 37-20. Barkley had 26 carries for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns, so he was phenomenal in that game. A.J. Brown had 6 receptions, 109 yards, and a touchdown. So the Eagles dominated that game against the Rams in Week 11. But that was the regular season. Just like with the Lions beating the Vikings. That was the regular season. This is playoffs. Totally different ball game. Lions have had a lot of rest, a lot of time off. It's time to get back. It's time to get back and take care of business for the Lions. So you have that. But the Eagles and the Rams, the last time they beat the Eagles on the road was September 20th of 2020. So COVID year. And they won that game 37-19. So it's been 5 years since the Rams last won a game at Philly. And Philly, that crowd, like I said earlier, crazy. Bunch of savages. I mean, they're maniacs there. It's going to be loud. The Eagles are 8-1 at home. 9-1 now because they beat the Packers this past weekend in the wild card round. But 9-1 at home. They have a lot of success. 8-1 in the regular season, 1-0 in the playoffs. The Eagles are a legit team. Saquon Barkley is a bad man. He is a bad man, dude. Watch out for that guy. So this game, who's going to win this one? The Eagles or the Rams? I got to go with the home team. It seems like I'm picking all home teams. We got one more game. But I'm picking the Eagles. I'm picking the Eagles in this one. I like the Eagles. I like what they're doing. The Rams, don't overlook them. It's Matthew Stafford. Might be a little chilly in Philly this weekend, this Sunday, but don't overlook. Might be a closer game than what we expect, but the Eagles are going to edge this one out. It's going to be a close one. But I got the Eagles over the Rams. So you have that one. And then the final game of the divisional round of the playoffs, this Sunday, 6:30, CBS Paramount Plus. You got the matchup of the century. You arguably got the best matchup in terms of star power. We're talking about the quarterbacks, obviously. Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. 2 MVP candidates. No question about it. No debate. These guys, this is going to be a fun one. And it's a rematch from their September matchup. Again, regular season, different game in the playoffs. But the Ravens won this one, and they dominated. I remember watching this game. They just dominated the Bills. 35-10. So now the Bills look at that, and they're just like, you know what? We're playing at home. We can't let these guys bully us around like that again. This is the playoffs. This is the divisional round. We win, we move on. We lose, we go home. So Bills are thinking about that for sure. Lamar Jackson in that game, 13 for 18, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Derrick Henry, 24 carries for 199 yards, almost 200 yards rushing, and a touchdown in that game. So he was great. Yeah, he was great in that game. And then Lamar Jackson, too. He had 6 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown. So, just like Josh Allen, very similar with Josh Allen. If Lamar Jackson's not beating you with his arm, which has gotten progressively better over the years since he's been in the league, he'll beat you with your legs. Another great mobile quarterback, Lamar Jackson. So you have that. And so this season, Josh Allen has 30 touchdowns versus 6 interceptions. That's amazing. 30 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Awesome. Lamar Jackson has 43 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Obviously, whoever wins this game, whichever quarterback wins this game is going to win MVP. And like I said, this is going to be the matchup of this weekend. I'm excited about this one. I don't know about you guys. This one is going to be awesome. Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. Who's going to win this one? The Bills are undefeated at home this year. But the Ravens have been playing some very good football. They're getting Derrick Henry involved now. You get him running, dude, I don't care who you are. You're not stopping that guy. I am going to pick the Ravens. I know. Oh, I'm picking the Ravens. I will pick the Ravens to win this one. Yeah, crazy, right? I'm a psycho for picking an away team. I picked 3 home teams for the divisional round of the playoffs, but now I'm picking an away team. And let's be honest, these 2 teams are evenly matched. And yeah, I get it. The Ravens beat them 35-10 in the regular season. It's playoffs. It's different. It's a whole different ball game. Said it numerous times today. But the Ravens, if they get Derrick Henry running and he's running over that defense of the Bills, I mean, and they look great against the Broncos this past weekend. But can they stop Derrick Henry? That's going to be the ultimate question. I got the Ravens in this one. So my picks for the divisional round of the playoffs. You got the Chiefs. I got the Chiefs over the Texans. I got the Detroit Lions. Go Lions. Over the Commanders. That's Saturday games. Sunday games, you got the Eagles and the Rams. I got the Eagles winning that one. And then the Ravens and the Bills. I got the Ravens on the road. Going to beat Buffalo in Buffalo. That's going to be the game of the week. I can't wait for that one. So that's the NFL. The wild card and the divisional rounds of the NFL playoffs. So I got all that. You know, it's going to be an exciting weekend. I can't wait. I can't wait for that. So watch some football, play some bets. Go Lions. Take care of business, boys. Beat those Commanders. So you got that. And now we got to hop over to college football. Because all this madness, all this craziness with the NFL playoffs and the wild card round and how god-awful it was, hopefully the divisional round of the playoffs are much, much better. We almost kind of forgot about the college football playoffs, right? We had the Orange Bowl, college football playoff semifinal last Thursday. You had Notre Dame and Penn State, 2 iconic football programs. Notre Dame winning this one, 27-24. That was a great game. Drew Aller, he threw a late interception in that game that set up a game-winning field goal for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Drew Aller, why are you throwing that ball in that situation? He says he's just trying to throw it away. Dude, you got to make it more obvious. Throw the damn ball away. Like, you're throwing the ball and it's still in play. It's still in bounds. It's a live ball. Anyone can get it. It was a clear interception. And that set up the game-winning field goal for Notre Dame. So Drew Aller, bad mistake, my friend. Horrible mistake. I mean, the play call was god-awful. You don't throw the ball in that situation. Horrible. It was god-awful. So that was unfortunate for Penn State. But the Fighting Irish, Mitch Jeter, kicked the game-winning field goal. And then going into that game against Penn State, Notre Dame had the worst field goal percentage in the country. Many college football teams in the FBS and FCS, right? They had the worst field goal percentage in the country going into that game, the Cotton Bowl against, or the Orange Bowl rather, against Penn State. 62.1% as a team. God-awful, right? And for college football, right? Mitch Jeter, 65%. So he was horrible too. He was missing field goals left and right. But when it mattered most, he came up big. Mitch Jeter, game-winning field goal. We're going to go to the national championship. Our first national championship game we've competed in since 1988. I wasn't even born then. So you have that for Notre Dame. So congrats to Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman has done a phenomenal job. God bless him. I hope he beats the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll get to that in a little bit. But great season for Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So good for them. Good to see a different team in the national championship game. James Franklin, Penn State head coach. We got to talk about this guy, right? Because he's 4-20, 4 wins and 20 losses against teams that are in the AP, Associated Press, top 10. That's not good, brother. You have to beat those teams. You have to beat teams that are good, that are top 10, that are dominant. You have to beat those teams. They finished the season, Penn State does, 13-3, so good. But James Franklin's record against top 10 teams from the Associated Press is god-awful, 4-20. Can't do that, dude. You cannot do that, especially if you're the Penn State head coach. They got so much pride, and priorities are at the highest. You have to beat those teams that matter. He's 4-20, man. You can't do that. So total yards in this game, Notre Dame had 383 yards versus Penn State's 339 yards. So pretty evenly matched game. It was exciting. It was fun. It was fun to watch that game, right? Notre Dame, came out on top. Riley Leonard, quarterback for Notre Dame, 15 for 23, 223 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks, but they ended up winning. Jeremiah Love, he's been a stud running back for Notre Dame all season, 11 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Nicholas Singleton, one of the best running backs in the country, 15 carries, 84 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns in this game, and they still lost Penn State. Crazy. And then Penn State, they had 5 sacks in this game. Wasn't enough. So Notre Dame winning this one 27-24. Great game. 2 iconic franchises, 2 iconic programs. Notre Dame's going to the national championship game. Penn State's going home. Drew Aller can't throw that interception. That was god-awful. And then James Franklin, his struggles against AP top 10 teams continues. 4-20. Can't do that, dude. Especially if you're the Penn State head coach. That's not the Penn State way. So you had that, the Orange Bowl. That was great last Thursday night. And then last Friday night, you had the Cotton Bowl. You had Ohio State, the Ohio State University, Ohio State Buckeyes going up against the Texas Longhorns. Another 2 iconic football programs in college football. So coming into this game, Ohio State was 1-2 all time versus Texas. The last time these two met was in the 2009 Fiesta Bowl. Yeah, 2009 Fiesta Bowl. I was in the 6th grade, I do believe. Last time these two met before they played last Friday in the Cotton Bowl. And Ohio State ended up losing that one 24-21 against Texas. So you had that going on. So Ohio State wins this one this time. They get their revenge from many years ago. 28-14. And it looked like a very good game until, the fumble recovery by Jack Sawyer, and he runs it all the way to the house. We'll get to that in a little bit. But OSU, Ohio State, seeking their 6th national championship opportunity. Now you got Notre Dame and Ohio State. They're looking for their 6th national title, Ohio State, with the win in the Cotton Bowl against Texas. So Texas, 5 minutes left. They had the ball at the Ohio State Buckeyes 1-yard line. And obviously coming to this game, Ohio State had the best red zone defense in college football. I mean, phenomenal. It's like, yeah, you can come all the way down, but when you're inside the red zone, we're going to stop you. And that's exactly what they did. So Ohio State had the best red zone defense come into this game. Texas had the ball, 5 minutes left. You had the ball at Ohio State's 1 yard line. You needed 1 yard to score a damn touchdown. They couldn't do it, right? And then, the play call, like we're running up the middle. Okay, great. He got stopped. And then the second play on that drive, in that situation, why are we running a toss on the outside where your running back loses 5 to 7 yards? That was a horrible play call. Whoever was calling that deserves to get fired. That was stupid. Like, dude, keep running the ball or run a quick slant or a quick out. No, we're going to run a toss play and you lose 5 yards. So you had the ball at the Ohio State's 1 yard line. You needed 1 yard to score a touchdown. And we're going to run a toss play to lose 5 yards, 5 to 7 yards. Boneheads. Absolute boneheaded call. I couldn't believe it. At that point, I was like, oh, yeah, they're done. Because Ohio State, they're ready. The best red zone defense in the country. Yeah, you're not scoring on us. And they didn't. Because then the fourth down came. Obviously Texas has to score or else, game's over. They have to score to tie it up. So the fourth down fumble, Quinn Ewers fumbles the ball. It's recovered by his former roommate at Ohio State, Jack Sawyer, the guy who was crying after the Michigan game, trying to rip our flag because we planted the flag on their field, and he was crying, but he made a great play here. He's a great athlete. No, I can't take that away from him. He's a great athlete, and he had his moment there. There was a scoop and score by Jack Sawyer. He ran at 83 yards for the touchdown, for the dagger, for the finish. Ohio State wins after that, 28-14. And so total yards in this game, 370 for Ohio State to 341 for Texas. So another evenly matched game. Like, this was a good game. And then Will Howard. This guy coming to this game, he never beaten Texas. He was originally at Kansas State. He transferred before this season started to Ohio State. So he was 0-3 all time against Texas. So he was bound to get a win, right? He was like, I have to beat these guys. These guys have been a pain in my ass my entire college career. I got to beat them. And New Jersey, new outfit, new school, he did exactly that, and he looked great. 24 for 33, 289 yards, a touchdown and interception. And like I said, coming into this game, he never beaten Texas. He was 0-3 against the Texas Longhorns coming to this game, the Cotton Bowl against the Texas Longhorns. So good for him. Finally beat the Texas Longhorns. And then Quinshon Judkins, 9 carries for 36 yards, 2 touchdowns. Guy's a beast. And then you got Travion Henderson. So the 1-2 monster, 2 stud running backs, 2 great running backs there. Notre Dame's got to stop those guys. They got to try to stop those guys. And then Carnell Tate stepped up in this game. 7 receptions for 87 yards. Emeka Egbuka, who's been there for many years, his senior year this year. 5 receptions for 51 yards. And then Jeremiah Smith, true freshman, set the Big Ten record for touchdown receptions with 14 this year. He had 1 reception for 3 yards. I'm pretty sure he's going to get more involved in the national championship game. I mean, he's been a great wide receiver all year round. And like I said earlier in the podcast, Ohio State produces great wide receivers. They've been for many years now. Terry McLaurin, Michael Jenkins from many, many years ago when they won the national championship in 2002. You got Chris Olave in the NFL. You got Garrett Wilson in the NFL. You got Jackson Smith in the Jibuff with the Seahawks now. Emeka Egbuka, been great. Carnell Tate's great. Jeremiah Smith, a true freshman, absolutely killing it this year. But I expect more action coming from the true freshman in the national championship game on January 20th. Next Monday, by the way, ESPN, 7:30, that game starts. So check that one out. Should be interesting. And then Quinn Ewers for Texas. Got to talk about Texas a little bit. 23 for 34, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So not bad. And then Wisner, running back of Texas, 17 carries for 46 yards. And then Jaden Blue, wide receiver from Texas, 5 for 59 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Matthew Golden, he had a few receptions in that game, but then he got hurt. So another great wide receiver for Texas. So both of these games were great. I tell you what, these 2 games combined were a hell of a lot better than the wild card round of the playoffs this past weekend. I'll tell you that right now. And I really hope this national championship game between the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Ohio State Buckeyes next Monday, January 20th, ESPN at 7:30, is amazing. I really hope it is. So with that being said, we got to talk about this national championship game a little bit. So Ohio State and Notre Dame, two iconic franchises, two iconic football programs going at it in the national championship game. The Ohio State Buckeyes open up as a 9.5-point favorite. 9.5 points, man. Almost 10 points against Notre Dame. I mean, they're not even giving Notre Dame a chance. So you got that to worry about. If you're placing bets for that game, take that into consideration. And they're seeking their first championship since 2014. And obviously, you guys remember the 2014 season. That was the first season the college football playoff championship format was introduced. Because for years, we had the Bowl Championship Series, or the BCS championship format to determine the national champion of college football. So now, this was the first year, 2014. That was the first year the college football playoff national championship came into play, and it's worked out, I guess. I mean, the 12 team, I think that's too many teams in my opinion. I mean, we saw like teams like SMU getting blown out. We saw like Boise State didn't perform well. We saw Indiana get absolutely annihilated by Notre Dame in the first round of the playoffs. So it's like, let's maybe shrinking down to eight teams in this playoff, not 12. 12 is way too much. 4 was okay, or maybe not enough. I don't know. 8's like the perfect mark. So maybe something to consider for the College Football Playoff Committee. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, 2014 was the first year that format was introduced, and Ohio State became their first champion. They were the first college football playoff champions that year. I mean, dude, that was a great Ohio State Buckeye team. I mean, damn, you had Ezekiel Elliott just running all over people. They absolutely dominated. They played the Oregon Ducks, and they destroyed them in the national championship game. So you have that. And then Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, they're seeking their first championship, college football championship ever, right, in that format. But they're seeking their first national championship in football since 1988. So it's been a very long time, 37 years, 37 years almost, since they've last won a national championship in football. 1988 for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So lots on the line for these two programs. So you have that. And then also, it's the first time 2 head coaches are seeking their first national championship. First time. Ryan Day, in his 6th season, never won a national championship. Marcus Freeman, his 3rd full season as the head coach, because you remember he coached the bowl game back in 2021, the 2021 season, because Brian Kelly left for LSU. And look at him. He's probably feeling like an idiot. It's like, man, if I stayed a little longer, maybe I could have led his team to a national championship. But, he was at Notre Dame for a long time. He didn't do a damn thing with that team. They went to a national championship game many years ago, the 2012 season, and they played the 2013 game against Alabama. That was the whole Manti Te'o fake girlfriend drama and craziness and BS going on. And they got absolutely annihilated by the Alabama Crimson Tide. That was probably the worst college football national championship game I ever watched. I remember watching that game. It was horrible. But yeah, Marcus Freeman, his 3rd full season as the head coach of Notre Dame, and he's turned that program around. They're competing for a national championship. He has the opportunity to win his first national championship as a head coach. Same with Ryan Day. So first time 2 head coaches are seeking their first national championships. 2 head coaches, not just 1, 2. Because Ryan Day hasn't won a national championship and Marcus Freeman hasn't won one. So that's good. That's going to be an interesting storyline that they're going to talk about going to this game next Monday. So you have that. And then another crazy stat for these 2 teams competing in the national championship game. Both teams did not compete in the conference championship game. Ohio State did not compete in the Big Ten championship game. Penn State and Oregon did. Oregon won. And now look at them. They're out of the playoffs. They're gone. They're waiting. They're staying at home. So you have that. Ohio State didn't compete in the Big Ten championship, and now they're competing for a national championship. Crazy. And then Notre Dame, since they're independent, they don't play in conference championships. That's BS. They need to join the Big Ten and compete for a Big Ten championship and call it a day. My opinion, it's been, been a talk. It's been a debate for many years. Notre Dame just needs to join the Big Ten and call it a day. But since they're independent, they don't compete in conference championships. So both these teams did not compete in their conference championships. And now they're competing for a national championship. That's awesome. So Ohio State, I checked this out the other day. I looked this up the other day. 6-0 all time versus Notre Dame. Their last matchup, Ohio State won 17-14 in the 2023 season at South Bend. So on the road, they won 17-14. That was the last time they faced each other. All time, Ohio State is 6-0 against Notre Dame. So, man, that's tough if you're the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Plus, you're 9.5-point underdogs against the Buckeyes. And I said it last week on the podcast. I said it last week on Guys Time the Prize. Ohio State is the toughest team out of the semifinals. Out of the semifinal teams competing. Ohio State's the toughest team. And my opinion hasn't changed going to the national championship game. So now the Prize has to make his pick. Who's going to win the 2024 College Football Playoff National Championship game? The Ohio State Buckeyes or the Notre Dame Fighting Irish? Michigan fans are not going to like me. And I'm wearing Michigan today. Go blue. But I have to be real. I have to be honest with myself. The Ohio State Buckeyes are going to be your national champions of college football. I got the Ohio State Buckeyes. Notre Dame needs a miracle, a literal prayer to win this game. If you can't stop Will Howard in that passing game, it's going to be a long night for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. You can't stop that running game. Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, the two-headed monster. You can't stop those two in the running game. It's going to be a long night for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. You're not winning in the trenches. You can't get to Will Howard. It's going to be a long night. Notre Dame literally needs a prayer to beat the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State, they're dominant right now. They're on a mission, and they're going to become the national champions of college football. So I will pick Ohio State to win the national championship against Notre Dame. I know, wearing a Michigan hoodie, and I'm saying, Ohio State's winning the national champion. I'm crazy. I'm effed up. I'm on some kind of drugs. What the hell's wrong with you, kid? You stupid? I'm crazy for even saying that, but I have to be honest with myself. Ohio State's winning the national championship. That would be awesome if Notre Dame pulled off the upset. That would be awesome. But Ohio State, they're on a whole nother level right now. So Ohio State will win the national championship next Monday on ESPN, 7:30 against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Check that game out. It's going to be a good one. Play some bets, but I got Ohio State winning. So, yeah, you got that. Still go blue. I go blue. All you Michigan fans, don't hate me. I'm just being real with you. And if you don't like that, well, then that's your problem. So now today, long episode. Lots of football. I know. But the Bryce, he loves his football. But now we got to talk about the UFC because our first pay-per-view is happening this Saturday night. So might have to find a way to watch the playoff games. Lions and the Commanders, they're playing at 8 o'clock. UFC, their main card usually starts at 10. Maybe get 2 TVs going. I don't know. But I have to watch this. We had a fight night last weekend. Mackenzie Dern beat Amanda Ribas by submission, a rematch from a couple years ago. Mackenzie Dern got the better of Amanda Ribas. She had a fight night. Lots of knockouts, it seemed like. I saw one knockout. Guy landed a nice left hook, and the guy just fell flat. I mean, brutal, dude. But that's UFC. It's a brutal sport. I respect every man and woman who competes in that because that's not easy, dude. I mean, I feel bad for these athletes. I mean, you go in there and you're getting your ass kicked. I mean, you really are. You're getting kicked. You're getting kneed to the face. You're getting punched. You're getting choked out. Your arm is about to break. Your leg's about to break and get you in submission holds. It's not easy, dude. So I respect everyone who competes in mixed martial arts and boxing too. Any combat sport, whatever it is. It's crazy. But our first pay-per-view of 2025 for the UFC, UFC 311, live this Saturday night. Main card starts at 10 o'clock. The prelims start at 8, and then the early prelims are at 6 o'clock. So you want to watch all day, start at 6, and then the main card starts at 10. So this Saturday, check it out. Main card starts at 10. It's in California, the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, California. That's where they had their first Monday Night Raw on Netflix last week. If you guys, pro wrestling fans out there, I had to watch it because I grew up watching pro wrestling as a kid. I just had to watch it to see what it was all about. John Cena, doing his retirement tour, very emotional because he was my dude. He was my favorite WWE superstar growing up. But now so same place as Raw on Netflix, the first episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. This is the same place now, UFC 311, where they're going to host this UFC 311 of Makhachev versus Tezcucaran 2. So a rematch from many years ago. So Islam Makhachev, he's the lightweight champion, 155-pound champion. He's 26-1 career. He's going up against Arman Tsarukyan. I'm not pronouncing that right, but I think it's Tsarukyan. I think that T is silent. So Arman Tsarukyan or Tsarukyan. They're going at it. He's 22-3. They're going at it in the main event, the lightweight championship on the line. Makhachev, his last loss was in 2015. All right, it's been a long time since this guy's lost in his mixed martial arts career, but he's won 14 in a row since that loss in 2015, and he beat Tsarukyan back in 2019. So 6 years ago, he beat him by unanimous decision. So it's a rematch from 6 years ago. So does Tsarukyan get his revenge against Makhachev, or does Makhachev retain his lightweight belt? We'll see what happens. And then Makhachev, it's his fourth title defense. His last title defense, he defeated the great Diamond, Dustin Poirier, in the fifth round earlier this year, back in June of last year. Makhachev beat Dustin Poirier in the fifth round. That was a great fight. That was a really good fight, and he beat him by submission. And then he beat Alexander Volkanovski twice, another great fighter, for the UFC Lightweight Championship. And then he won the title versus Charles Oliveira, who's another great fighter. But a lot of these guys are getting old now. Makhachev is still relatively young. He's the champion, and he looks absolutely phenomenal. So, and then Tsarukyan, Arman Tsarukyan, he's on a 4-fight winning streak. And some of those victories he's beaten Charles Oliveira, and that was his last fight back in April of 2024, April of last year, and he's beaten Beneil Dariush, who's also on this card as well. And then his last loss was against Mateusz Gamrot, and he lost by unanimous decision back in 2022, so a couple years ago. But he's on a 4-fight win streak. Tsarukyan is. Makhachev is on a 14-fight win streak. He's defended the title successfully 4 times, and he's looked dominant in all of them. So who's going to win this fight? Makhachev or Tsarukyan? I'm going to go with the champion, Islam Makhachev. I think that wrestling, the grappling is going to be too much for the striker, Tsarukyan, and Makhachev is going to retain the title, the lightweight championship, 155-pound championship. So I got Islam Makhachev winning the main event this Saturday, UFC 311 in Los Angeles, California, live from the Intuit Dome. So you got that. That's the main event. And then the co-main event, you have another title fight. So 2 title fights. Very exciting, right? You got to check it out. Another title fight. This is for the Bantamweight Championship now. So Bantamweight is 135 pounds for the UFC. So you got Merab Dvalishvili going against Umar Nurmagomedov. A lot of these names, man. I mean, yeah, it's hard to pronounce. I'm doing the best I can. But 2 good fighters here. Merab is the champion. He beat Sean O'Malley in September 2024, so last year, to become the bantamweight champion. And he looked great. He looked great in that fight. He's on an 11-fight winning streak. Merab is. His last loss came in 2018. So it's been 7 years since the last time Merab lost. So a lot of these fighters, man, they're on winning streaks. Last losses came many years ago. So a lot of great fighters on this card. So keep that in mind. But yeah, 11-fight winning streak for Merab. Last time he lost was in 2018. And then Umar, he's on Nurmagomedov. He's undefeated, 18-0. 18-0, which is insane. And his last fight was in August of 2014, or 2024. So, excuse me. So last year, last August, he beat Corey Sandhagen, who's a great bantamweight fighter. He beat him in that fight. So, two great fighters, bantamweight championship on the line. Who's going to win this one? I'm going to go with the undefeated guy. I'm going to go with Umar Nurmagomedov, the undefeated contender. He's going to win this one. He's going to beat Merab for the Bantamweight Championship, the co-main event for this event. I got Umar Nurmagomedov winning that one. So you got that. So 2 title fights. Check them out. Main card starts at 10. It's going to be a good one. And now on this card as well, 2 lightweight heavyweights going at it. So 205 pounders. 205 pounders going at it. You got Yuri Prochazka going up against Jamal Hill. So this one's going to be a good one. So Yuri Prochazka is 35-1, and then Jamal Hill is 12-2 overall. And then Jamal Hill has a 7-2 UFC record as well. And then Jamal Hill, Yuri Prochazka lost to Pereira twice, both times for the light heavyweight championship. I mean, that guy, Alex Pereira, he is a savage. So I don't, it is what it is. I don't blame Yuri for those losses, but he lost both times by KO, TKO. So he's susceptible to a knockout. And he became champion, Yuri Prochazka did, when he defeated Glover Teixeira back in 2022. He had a 13 fight winning streak before he lost to Alex Pereira, and then he has a 4-2 record in the UFC. So Yuri Prochazka trying to get back on the win column in this one. And then Jamal Hill, 7-2 UFC record, 12-2 overall. He lost to Alex Pereira last year. So 2 light heavyweights trying to get back in title contention. Who's going to win this one? I am going with Yuri Prochazka. Jamal Hill, he's a great fighter, but Yuri Prochazka is another savage. He's going to win this one. I got him winning that. So you have that. And then Beneil Dariush going up against Renato Moicano. So this is going to be a hell of a fight here. Lightweights, so 2 155-pounders going at it. I'm going to go with Moicano, rather. Renato Moicano from Brazil. He's going to win this one. I got him winning that. You got Kevin Holland on the main card as well. He's fighting in this one. Johnny Walker's on the prelims. Gelton Almeida. Nice to see him back in action. Aline Perez. She's 11-2. She's won her last few fights. So a lot of big fights this weekend. 2 championship fights. I made my pick for some of the main card fights. UFC 311 this Saturday. Main card starts at 10 p.m. Prelims start at 8. The early prelims start at 6. The first pay-per-view for the UFC this year. It's going to be awesome. Watch that. You got the divisional rounds of the NFL playoffs this weekend as well. So check that out. Like I said, I got to get 2 TVs going because damn well I'm not going to miss the Lions game and when they go up against the Commanders in the divisional round of the playoffs. But I got to watch my UFC, man. So we'll see. We'll see how the Bryce figures that one out. Get 2 TVs going and we'll go from there. Watch some football and some UFC this weekend for sports. So with that being said, man, that was the longest episode in a long time. Definitely the longest episode so far in 2025. But thank you so much for joining me on this edition of Guys Time with the Bryce. So you already know the drill. The video version of this episode is going to be available on my YouTube page at Guys Time with the Bryce. Subscribe to that channel. I appreciate it. And the audio version of this episode is going to be available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Check it out. You guys have been amazing. So, yeah, have a great rest of the day. It's Tuesday, so you got a few more days before the weekend. But, yeah, watch some football. You got some division games going on, some very good division games going on. Like I said, the Buffalo Bills and the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens, that's probably going to be the game of the week, the game of the weekend, rather. 2 MVP candidates going at, Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson. I got the Ravens winning this one. I want to hear from everyone else. So check that one out, Sunday night, 6:30. And then the Lions, our beloved Detroit Lions, going up against the Washington Commanders, 8 o'clock Saturday on Fox from Ford Field. Get loud, people in the Motor City. Go Lions. Guys, handle your business, man. You have to win this one against Washington. Have to. So go Lions and watch some UFC this weekend. And then the Red Wings. Side note, they've won 7 in a row. They haven't lost yet in the year 2025. So they look absolutely phenomenal. So congrats to them. I do believe they play the San Jose Sharks tonight. Let me check that real quick. But they've been on a tear. I mean, getting rid of Derek Lalonde was probably the best decision they made this year. And then getting Todd McClellan, who's an actual experienced head coach. He's coached the San Jose Sharks. I remember he was there for a while. I think he coached Edmonton Oilers as well. But he was also an assistant, many years ago with the Red Wings back in the day when we were winning, Stanley Cups, it seemed like. But yeah, the Red Wings, 7 in a row, looked absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you can see it night and day. It's a complete 180. I mean, they're playing hockey how you're supposed to play hockey. You got all that talent on that ice. You got Lucas Raymond. You got, Mo Sider. You got Dylan Larkin. You got Alex DeBrincat. You got JT Comfort. You have all these guys who are star players. Patrick Kane's heating up now. There's no reason why we shouldn't make it to at least a wild card round in the playoffs, right? So yeah, I was right. So tonight, 7 o'clock, NHL, you got the Sharks going to Detroit, because after that they go on the road and they got to play the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So got some tough games coming up on the road for the Red Wings next couple days. Thursday against the Florida Panthers, and then Saturday against the Lightning, and then Sunday against the Dallas Stars. They're a good team this year, but dude, since firing, I think we're 7-1 since firing Derek Lalonde towards the end of the year last year, and then hiring Todd McClellan. And he said it perfectly. Play effing hockey. You've been playing it all your lives. That's all he said. And since he said that at one of the team's practices, they won 7 straight, and they look absolutely phenomenal. Like a complete 180, a completely different team. They got to keep it up, though. They got 40-something more games left. I do believe they're only 4 points behind in the wild card spot. So make it to the wild card, man. Get into the playoffs. But they're 4 points out from the wild card spot. So just keep winning, boys. You've done a tremendous job up to this point. But yeah, December 29th, that's when the winning streak started. Beat the Capitals. And then New Year's Eve, you beat the Penguins. And then January 2nd, you beat the Blue Jackets. You beat the Winnipeg Jets, who are phenomenal. The Senators, that was a tough game. They're a tough team this year. We beat them in overtime at home. You beat the Blackhawks last Friday. I watched that game, the Senators game. That was a great game. The Seattle Kraken, that was a great game. I mean, it's 4 goals in the first period. It was 4-0 after the first period. It's like, that's Detroit Red Wings hockey. Let's keep doing that all season. But 4-0 in the first period in that game against Seattle this past Sunday. That was awesome to see that. But now tonight we got the Sharks. We got to beat the Sharks at home. 7 o'clock. Check that out. I had to make that side note because I know we don't talk a lot about the hockey. Well, why would you, right? I mean, the Red Wings were god-awful at the start of the season, but now they're doing good, and they look great. They look like a complete team. So go Red Wings for tonight. Go Lions for this weekend. Watch UFC 311, 2 championship fights. Going to be great. The first pay-per-view for the UFC of 2025. Watch some sports, play some bets, and as always, stay safe out there, my friends. All right, the prize is out. You guys have a great rest of your day. Peace. Go Lions. Go Red Wings. Watch UFC 311 this weekend. Peace out, guys.